The Last Gang War in Chicago by Trap University. And if you guys don't know who Trap University is, make sure you go check dude out down below. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tag him in the description. But yeah, also, this is streamed live on Twitch. Pull up Carlos Cordova Jr. like it says down below. Let's get into this reaction.
By the title, let me explain. A gang war is a conflict in the streets between two or more gangs.
Yes,
and a gang was
indeed.
originally an alliance between multiple blocks that all represented the same gang.
Indeed.
But in Chicago, that's just not the case
Yo,
anymore.
what up, my
Today,
boy? What's going
the
on?
Teenagers warring in the streets are just small cliques
the
of
word,
5 to 10
man?
guys going against other small groups of 5 to 10 guys. In one of his earliest songs, Exposing Me, King Von shows his age when he mentions a peace treaty. But he also
You're tired as F. Why? What are you tired, bro? All right, look, King Von. Ain't got no hoes with me. Ain't got no hoes. Okay, that's...
gives you some insight into how some things have changed. In the song, he essentially implies that he doesn't believe in peace treaties because he himself saw the last one fail.
Okay.
Now, I remember being a kid back in 2011 and logging into Facebook to see people posting pictures of a guy named D-Thang. He had just been murdered, and it was a mix
The
of people
creator
saying
of Friday
rest
the
in peace
13th the
and others
game.
disrespecting
Oh wait, you know the creator of Friday the 13th the game. I played that game before. That game's hella fun. They have a new game or what? Is there a new game that came out?
him. But the thing about his murder is that it happened during a peace treaty.
My brother D-Thang got killed in that peace treaty.
When that peace treaty came down, D-Thang was D-Thang. Like, he was 3 times.
He was a founding member of the group 600, which became part of the O Block 600 Alliance, made famous by his
Another
members
trailer
such as
just
Chief
dropped.
before he moved to California, King Von.
Bro, I want to play that. That shit's hella fun. I am so down to play that and stream it.
600 Breezy, L.A. Capone, and Tay Capone, who was then known as Tay 600.
Bro,
Lil
that
Durk
was-
is not from either of these blocks, despite what people on the internet claim. He's actually from Inglewood, which is on the other side of the...
But yeah, I find it so amusing that these dudes, like, they come from, like, the straight trenches, right? What am I talking about? Friday the 13th, the video game, right? But I just find it so amusing that these dudes, they come... You can't play Friday the game anymore. You can't play it no more? Why not? Sorry to go off topic of the video, but these dudes come from the trenches, you know, from nothing, basically. They start rapping, bro, and start seeing money. Just imagine the feeling of coming from nothing. Oh, the creator's dropping a new game. Okay. Oh, yeah, look, we'll get into that. We're going to watch it right now. This is like 8 more minutes left, and I'm down to watch it. I love that game, and if it's similar to it, I'm so down to play it.
Expressway, but they were all clicked up. And an alliance like this was the only reason a peace treaty could ever happen. You had multiple hoods from Lamron to 600 together in an alliance to stretch nearly 2 miles across the
check it out right after
city.
this. It's because I'm recording a reaction video, so I don't want to like start it over. You get what I'm saying? It's almost over.
That if it happened today in Chicago would be very short-lived, since clicking up with another hood only creates more enemies because there is no trust,
should be over in no time.
goal, no objective. Whereas back in the early to mid 2010s, the teenagers in gangs had at least something to mimic. The days when street gangs resembled the mob with structure, money-making operations, and foot soldiers were gone, but back then, in the late 2000s and early 2010s, the kids were still growing up on stories about the past. The goal back then was to generate money and become a force that couldn't be...
Bro, it's like they had no good influences or nothing. That's what it seems like. Can I get VIP? What is that? What do you mean VIP? I don't know what that is. But yeah, I feel like these kids, bro, they have no good influence like around them to teach them things, you know? That's Dirk when he was a kid.
Victimized by another gang, but it was flawed.
VIP?
The days of dope boys
Yeah,
and big
I'll
money
learn how to
drug
do it. I'm not
operations
sure
were
how to
just
do
not a
it,
thing in my
but I got
generation.
you.
Scamming was getting advanced, and the young guys just didn't care about selling drugs in Chicago. So that part
They
was
wanna
left to the
scam.
older guys who were around in the 90s and had connections to the cartel. But notably, the older guys started to distance themselves from the younger generation. They were
Did
trying
you even see my other message? Which one? I'm reading all your messages.
to become kingpins, but since the structure of their time was gone, they couldn't force the teenagers to sell drugs for them and bring back the profit like what had been done to them in their youth. If you gave a bag to a kid in my generation and expected him to be a servant who was just going to stand on the corner and make you rich, you'd be in for a big surprise. But one thing the younger generation held on to back then were the gangs. The GDs, BDs, Stones, Vice Lords, Latin Kings, SDs, 4CH, and so on. And with these big alliances still in place, and the kids not selling drugs, they started to get in...
Followage. I need to set that up, you guys. How do you set it up for followage? How do I do that?
conflict with one another. And it wasn't about a
Can y'all
block or a
teach me?
hood. It would usually start as a personal dispute that would lead to a gang war because everybody was together. But once the shooting and killing started to get out of hand, the older guys made the last move they ever had to influence the youth. And that's when they helped usher in the peace treaty. There were multiple hoods, but to simplify, it was a few BD hoods and a few GD hoods going at it. And for a very, very short time, the peace treaty was respected. But one guy made a move that had a huge cause and effect that lasted for over a decade.
Like,
Join the Discord, Sincere.
I'm over there chilling with them. And I ain't gonna say I was comfortable. I was nervous than them. We done did so much. So it's like, okay, they call it's a peace treaty now, but it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, is it?
D-Thang from 600 was known to be a bully. Even before Reddit and Traplo Ross videos, it was known that he would just pull up to certain hoods and start shooting. So when the peace treaty was in effect, a guy named Dome from Jaro City, one of the hoods that D-Thang would shoot at, would catch D-Thang around Washington Park. And it should have been fine. But maybe it was because he felt like the peace treaty wouldn't last forever, and right here in front of him was a very dangerous guy. So he killed him. And thus, the peace treaty ended. Dishonorably.
Damn.
Now, exactly why he did this, we'll never know. Dome was caught not long after this and sent to prison, and he was supposed to get out in 2021, but that never happened because he died in prison under mysterious circumstances. But this event, along with the word gang already losing its meaning in Chicago, sent parts of the city to where they are today. Now, the story of this war has been told 1,000 times on the internet, so the only new angle I can really give you is my personal experience maneuvering around the South Side while all of this was going on, when guys like Vaughn, Scrap, and many more people who are no longer here were actively running wild. Because the street politics in the city are so different that in O Block, at one time, there was a no GD policy, and saying something like BDK was disrespectful to the entire alliance of O Block 600, Lamron, and Front Street. And that's because for the most part, everybody was BD. But today, you got guys walking around O Block with the chains King Von bought, cracking the trays, which is disrespectful to the BDs. Something that wouldn't have happened 10 years ago.
Pause TTS. Okay, hold on. One second. There you go, bro.
Now, this is not to say that every hood was just one gang, as somebody like FYBJ Maine, who now pushes for peace in Chicago, was allied with the GDs despite the fact that, like most of his family, he was a BD. But I remember it like yesterday. Not long after I saw everyone saying rest in peace to D-Thang, every block from 51st to 69th became significantly more dangerous. I had heard about peace treaties in the years leading up to 2011, but I would have still been in elementary school in 08, 09, and 2010, but I did remember when 600 was founded, because the area I grew up in was full of people that had family members in 600. And with that came another alliance that was split. Once the peace treaty was broken, the alliance on the side of King Von and Lil Durk suddenly became very aggressive toward anybody that claimed GD.
Oh, Jaja, where the fuck is Shorty them at? Oh, he got a buff on.
Damn.
I wouldn't necessarily say this happened with the Hispanic gangs, and the white gangs already experienced a similar split years before that basically destroyed them. And just in case I'm not putting in the scale,
Bro, the white gangs in Chicago? Like, what are they? Like woods?
How big the alliances used to be. The summer in Chicago has always been the deadliest time of year for people in the streets
spunky,
because it's hot, and since most gang members were and still are teenagers, that means that the guys that hate each other are all out of school, and some of the older guys have nothing to do since they just graduated. But the summer of 2025 recorded the lowest number of homicides in Chicago since the summer of 1965. When watching the news or listening to politicians outside of the city, Chicago can seem just as deadly as ever. And I know I've given Chicago politicians a hard time for being literally the most corrupt local government outside of New York State, but this is not just me reading statistics. I actually saw this happen. I've watched the streets become safer. Simply put, the groups at war right now are far too small with too few alliances to ever engage in a decade-long war like the one that put drill on the world stage, where the careers of people like DJ Academics took off for covering the insane conflicts that nearly wiped out entire graduating classes. The alliances were so big that there was family on both.
An entire graduating class. Not just one. An entire graduating class?
Size. As one of the most well-known guys from 600, Mimo, said recently in an interview that his cousin, who was on the other side of the war, killed one of his friends. And just 5 months later, 2 of Mimo's friends killed one of his other cousins. If my cousin's friends want to kill me, well, He's my cousin. He knows all my secrets and where I can most likely be found in the city if someone was looking for me. And you might ask, well, how could you go against your own family for a gang? Well, that's not really what it was. Let's say my cousin and I go to different high schools. We see each other sometimes, but not every day since we live in different neighborhoods. Over the summer, a good friend of mine gets into a fight with a good friend of my cousin's, or one of them steals from the other, or anything that crosses a line. Maybe my cousin's friend ends the fight with a threat and says the next time I see you, I'ma kill you. But my friend doesn't let it go past this, so he pulls out his gun and kills him on the spot. He threatened him after all, a big threat. If someone in Chicago tells you this from any background, you should probably take it serious. But my cousin's friends don't care who was justified and who wasn't. They decide that my friend has to pay the price for this in blood. And maybe one of the guys that witnessed it was the brother of the victim. What sway then would your cousin hold over the next thing that happens? None, which is just as much sway I would have if these guys caught me and my friend. Now, it doesn't matter if I keep being friends with this guy or not. The people that want to kill him might still think that we're friends, so I could very well become a target. And mind you, all of this is happening while we're still in high school, because from the time Chief Keef dropped his first song to when he left Chicago, King Von got locked up, and the death of L.A. Capone and the arrest of C-Day and Rondo, it would have only been from his freshman to his senior year, as King Von, who was only a year older than Keef, would have only been 19 at the beginning of 2014, which was 3 whole years after the end of the peace treaty. Obviously, most people on the South Side don't gangbang, but the families that do would have suddenly had less stories of gangs being some big organized alliance. And those stories would have been replaced with stories of how renegade the streets have become, and how there was no point to even be in the streets anymore. Also, in an older video, I mentioned the database used by the Chicago police that ranks how likely it is for certain people to either be a victim or the perpetrator of gun violence. And even though it's discontinued, I did manage to find some footage of it. It may look bad from the outside, but I guarantee, in 10 years, class reunions on the South Side will be bigger than they have been in 15 years. But thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.
Damn, bro. Chicago is super slimy. I had a homie that I used to be really cool with, and he lived in Chicago, and he would always have a strap with him, always have a gun, always be riding around with a gun. But, you know, he got caught with one a couple times by, like, just getting high, falling asleep on the bus while he's on the bus with a strap in the side of him. You know what I mean? And just falling asleep. And people see it, so they call the cops. And he gets woken up to, you know, to the police saying, come on, you're going to jail, bro. At gunpoint. But, hey, you know, people make their own decisions. Whoa, bro. Hold on, we got some other shit we gotta cover. We got some other shit we gotta cover over here. Damn.